moving forward to our next presenter. KG is also a member of our Lincoln Farnow, and he's a PhD candidate in agribusiness here at Lincoln University. And he will be presenting his work on impacts of non-tariff barriers on the agri-food trade within the Southern African Custom Union. And with that, I'm handing over to you. We're quite excited to hear your work.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Let me just share the screen. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Let me just clarify that this is just a part of my term paper that I did last semester, and just want to develop it into part of my thesis with the assistance from my lecturers, my supervisors. So I just worked on this, and it's a work in progress, and I thought I could just share and see how it works. It's something that we still going to discuss further and develop. And basically my entire work is into regional integration, and this is just part of it. It's just a snippet of it, and we trying to assess the impacts of non-tariff barriers. Those are any barriers except besides taxes, that is tariffs that affect trade within a regional bloc. Then Africa is currently negotiating several regional trade areas, which look into promoting agricultural trade within these regions. And chief among these regional trade areas is the SACU, the Southern African Custom Union, which constitutes 5 Southern African countries. These are the countries. And then this union is the oldest union, custom union in the entire world. It was formed in the 1889 and was formally launched in 1910. The idea behind was to increase economic development within this region, as well as increase diversification and industrialization of these 5 African countries. However, ever since its creation in 1889, the region has not been doing well in terms of agricultural trade. And we want to explore that customs union, a deep integration step where you do away with tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. However, in the case of the Southern African Customs Union, the SACU, despite this deep regional integration, trade within this region has been very low, 13% as compared to 60% in the EU, 60% in North America. And this is worrisome because this is one of the poorest regions, and agriculture is the main source of livelihood, with the expectation that it would lift people from poverty. And chief among this low trade is non-tariff barriers, which increase the cost of doing business and inhibiting agricultural trade. And despite the potential that these countries have, trade is very low, like I've highlighted, and this leads to economic stagnancy, stagnant. So despite the fact that these countries have done away with the tariffs and reduced non-tariff barriers, but they still find a way into how they trade. There are certain aspects of the agreement that allow for these member countries to impose non-tariff barriers, sometimes legal, sometimes illegal, and this severely affect the economic status of the region. And the common barriers or non-tariff barriers within these regions are import restrictions that are done by governments, export bans and licensing and quotas set, by these governments. And this affect strategic agricultural sectors, mainly cereals and vegetables, which are very important for food security as well as economic development. And mind you, this agriculture constitutes around 80% of the entire region's economy, but the impact of the sector is very much limited. Therefore, my interest is assessing the significance of this NTBs in this region. So the question is, how significant are these, or are there other factors that affect our trade within these regions that we've not been, focused on? And therefore, to do that, we reviewed literature, empirical literature in the past years or so. And much of the literature that we found supportive of regional integration, saying that regional integration is the best thing. It allows the flow of goods and services to areas where they are competitive advantage to areas where they are not. And some of the papers that you reviewed, interesting papers, show that membership of some unions sometimes don't really add economic value, which then raises the question of why. And most importantly, the methodologies that were used to assess the impact of our customs unions within the trading regimes. And then what we found out is that there's not been much papers that specifically look at agricultural trade or agri-food trade within the SACU regions. The only papers that are there, they're looking into the region without detailed analysis of agri-food trade. Hence the reason why we developed the interest in assessing the impact of this and the SACU trade. The latest paper that somehow come closer to what one would expect, especially that in the past in the post COVID era, there's been a lot of barriers that have been put in place by different African countries, but much attention has not been done. Empirical evidence has not been given on the impact of this NTBs on how trade flows within these regions. And the latest paper that has been done was by Jeffries, which somehow lacks the empirical analysis because it's just the narrative of what has transpired, but somehow it raises the question of what is happening within the region, and specifically countries that are instrumental or play a significant role in imposing this non-tariff barriers. Then based on the literature that I have so far reviewed, there's limited empirical evidence on the effects of NTBs on the intra-SACU agri-food trade. There's not been any paper that specifically look at this area. Therefore, the aim of this project is to estimate the gravity. You use the gravity model, which is commonly used to assess the trade flows within different countries, and we estimate the gravity model by using 11 strategic agri-food products that are highly traded or of economic significance within these 5 SACU countries. And we incorporate other 21 top trading partners of this region just to see how this, NTBs have impacted the trade. Then we look into trade bans, quotas, licensing, and we looked at an interval of 23 years just to have an idea what has been happening within this 23 years. And this 23 years allows us to check our trends of what has been happening, and how we can relate this to, our level of volumes of trade within these countries. It's a good number of years to give us an opportunity of understanding, the impacts of NTBs within these countries. We used the gravity model, as I stated. It's commonly used in assessing the impact of trade. It has long been used, and it has proved to be one of the most efficient and easy method to use for policymakers. not necessarily economists, but people who can or have a keen interest in understanding whether some policies work or whether they do not work. The model is based on the it's based on the proposition that trade is determined by the volume of, or the economic size of a country, measured in GDP, and the distance between two trading partners, and other factors that may affect the trade. And the model can be estimated using the OLS, which is commonly used. However, the OLS, as stipulated on this, has its own weakness, especially dealing with other factors that are not unobserved, and also other factors that affect promote trade within different trading partners, and also issues of data. That's what I've realized with this small paper that I'm doing, is that there are a lot of zero trade variables within the data. Therefore, we need a better model that can account for all this to make sure that we come up with unbiased results. Then there are several methodologies that can be used. The the Poisson-Sado likelihood is one of the models that are highly used in this area. But alternatively, we're just thinking of the Heckman model, or the Probit model, which is commonly used and somehow easy for someone who's learning in this area. And the model is it does well in terms of controlling all these issues that are mostly common in developing and understanding trade. The model, this is how the model specification looks like, where we account for basic factors that affect trade, such as capital, GDP per capita, that is how much the amount of goods consumed by individuals within a country, the population, as well as the area of the trading partners, and issues of the location or geographic locations of these trading partners, as well as if at all they have historic commonalities, such as the use of language, and most importantly, if these countries have a free trade area of free trade agreement, which we expect to that it can now facilitate trade, and as well as the issues of money that is used within the currencies that are used within the trade areas. And we account all those factors. But most importantly, we're looking at the non-tariff barriers, as well as other factors, institutional factors that may somehow affect trade within these developing countries, because there are several factors that affect trade. So we wanted to account for that and see if at all they have any impact. And our findings are that the customary variables that normally observed in the gravity model somehow such as the economic size as measured by the GDP per capita, they're all significant, significantly, and positively affect trade within this 5 countries, as well as, there are 21 partners. And factors such as historical ties, they somehow have, an influence in how this trade takes place within the region. But unexpectedly, factors such as language, commonality in language, and historical background, appear to have a negative impact on the trade within this regions. It's something that I personally did not expect. And regarding the trade facilitation variables, the FTAs that these countries have signed, besides the customs union, they appear to be positive, but not significant. This countries trade, they have agreements with other countries besides or outside this custom unions. So the expectation was that this would somehow influence or have a negative impact on trade, since they'll be moving trade, countries will be moving trade from these regions to other other countries that they have different agreements outside the union, but somehow the results did not appear to be positive and significant. And most importantly, the membership of the customs union appear to be, positive and significant. That is, the membership of this customs union is very important for this 5 trading partners. Something that they really should keep on to in order to enhance trade. And unexpectedly, the non-tariff barriers, which we had expected to be significant, were not statistically significant, and they showed negative impact on trade within these regions. This is what we had thought at the back of our head, that they somehow affect trade, so they should have negatively impact on trade. And regulatory qualities, there's your institutions, the business environment, we expected them to have positive and significant impact, but somehow they have not. They have negative, but not significant impact, which somehow suggests that the measurements that we've used, maybe they're not correct, or this problem with the type of data set that I've so far collected is something to look into. And like I said, the expectation was that there's non-tariff barriers would really have or show a positive, or significant negative impacts on trade within the region, but it did not. And which then brings me to the issue of the quality of data that is available online, that we basically have been looking at, that these NTBs are very hard to quantify. What I've been doing is that I've been looking at different case by cases over the last 23 years. Whenever there are cases, I record that there was a case reported within these countries and with these countries. So it's very cumbersome and sometimes not very reliable data. And therefore, maybe should think of alternative ways of measuring this. And also what I did was that I took this 11 products and compacted them together, measured them together as exports, and this somehow may not worked well, because what I've picked is that maybe I should just disaggregate, use disaggregated data, whereby I take all these different products and measure them individually, just to see how this NTBs affect these different products, because they're affected differently. And most importantly, it shows that regional integration or deep regional integration is important. Yes, the May FTAs were not significantly, or do not show any significant impact in terms of trade within the SACU regions. And the last note on our discussion is that the model specification is very, very important, particularly the quality of data that we use, or is something that I'm really going to put my consideration on in order to ensure that I collect the right data that I can present it to my supervisors and say, the preliminary work that I've been doing shows this, so this is what I think would work well for this paper, because it's something that is very important. Like I said, it's a gray area that has not been well researched, especially considering how important regional integration is for the 5 countries that I've been looking at. In conclusion, this preliminary results so far support the intuition that deep regional integration matters for Africa's much needed economic growth, especially from the agricultural perspective. And most importantly, understanding these factors would definitely add value to the trade policies of these trading partners, especially at this juncture where the country is negotiating one of the big projects, which one of the big free trade areas, which is the focus of my research. So this small build up shows the significance or the importance of the study to both researchers and policymakers. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you for your presentation. I have my first question to you is, what is the significance of the Southern African Custom Union within international trade?
This custom union and it holds one of the largest exporters, agri-food exporters in the African region. That is South Africa. It's one of it's one of the most competitive countries in the region, and the SACU region constitutes 40% of the GDPs of the African countries. Therefore, the success of this custom union is the success of the entire African continent in terms of regional integration, and it's a model that the African continent can emulate if at all it's successful, and studies are well done around the area. Thank you.
What is the main contribution of your study to the academic world as well as to policymakers?
Like I said, this is a gray area. It's basically this is just the tip of the aspect, and it's just something that I'm looking forward to discussing with my supervisors, because there's not been much that has been done. In the past 4 years, there's been reported cases of vegetable bans, grain bans, which we think, or which we presuppose that have negative impacts on the area. So it's one of those research areas that need to be fully covered. And the other issue of the estimation model, the data sets. We want to compile the right data sets that can be used by upcoming researchers. We want to compile the NTBs, a database for NTBs that can be further developed for research in order to come up with unbiased empirical evidence to influence policy within the African continent.
Thank you for your presentation.
Thank you very much.